Hi, I'm Ted from Everything Attachments, and normally you'll see Peanut and I in the field doing our how-to videos. This weekend I was unavailable to do any of the videos. We had sold one of the mechanical potato diggers to a church in Cleveland County. Cleveland County is a county near us that experiences 14% unemployment not long ago. There's a church there that raises 40,000 pounds of potatoes and then gives them out to anyone that simply needs them because of the unemployment issue. Just to give you an idea of how close our relationship are with our employees here at Everything Attachments, Nate, which is our IT guy here, which is super dedicated, and he's part of the family around here, he volunteered to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, go drive up to Cleveland County, meet with the people from the church where they do their potatoes. So you will see Peanut and I back in the video soon. We just simply couldn't make it this Saturday. Nate's a really great guy, and he did the best he could, and I think he did really good with the mechanical potato digger. The dirt was a little bit wet there on that morning, but it was simply a time that they had to get their potatoes up. And that goes to show you that even in our red clay, which is sticky, and when the conditions are too wet, how well that this potato digger does perform. They actually had enough courtesy to call Nate on his way back to tell him that in that 3.5 hours that he was there while doing the video, that they did dig actually 10,000 pounds of potatoes in that 3.5 hours. So it gives you an idea of the production that this piece of equipment is capable of. Nate has not been around farm equipment near like Peanut and I have through the years, so some of the adjusting and stuff he did, I was really impressed with what he was able to do because he is an expert on the computer and it does our videos and so forth, so he's a huge part of our business here. Just want to let everyone know that sorry that Peanut and I weren't able to be available and that Nate filled in for us just like a hero for us. And at Everything Attachments, everyone here, for all of our customers that we've had and for everyone that we hope that will come to us, that's the kind of dedication that you're dealing with and the customer service that you're always going to receive at Everything Attachments. Thank you for watching.
Hi, I'm Nate from Everything Attachments, and we're here today with the Spedo potato digger, PTO powered. We've got a big potato field behind me here that Cleveland County uses to feed some of the hungry in their community. Now, they've been doing this for several years now. This is the first year they've used a PTO powered potato digger in this field. They've been using a potato plow or middle buster, and they found that they leave a lot of potatoes behind. They cut up a lot of potatoes, scratch up a lot of potatoes, and you end up with less potatoes and less crops that you can actually use for whatever your purpose is. Now this year they went ahead and got the Spedo from Italy, and what we found so far is that it's digging up 20 to 40% more potatoes. You don't have any scratches on them. They have the dirt shaken off mostly when you get them off the ground, and it's hard to keep up with a machine like this. We've got about 20 volunteers here picking up potatoes, putting them in boxes, trucks and tractors coming out of the garden, loading trailers up. We've already got one pickup truck completely full. We've got more than that laying on the ground now, and we're not even a quarter of the way through the field so far. So far, as you can see that some of the rows have been done, we're skipping every other row at this point. So we're gonna show some video of how it works, some of the adjustments on it. The biggest thing to worry about adjusting on this thing is the top link. And once you get the top link set to where it's the scoop is going to dig up the entire row, I think you're going to find it pulls up the entire row, separates the potatoes from the dirt, and just leaves the potatoes laying on top. Then all you got to do is bend down and pick them up. And it's not that hard of a thing to do when you consider all the things you can do with potatoes and the amount of potatoes you can pull out of just a small piece of land just like this one. So here we can see two hills side by side, one that has not been touched yet and the other one's finished. You see the difference it makes. As you can see, we've got the top link shortened, which lowers the scoop pan at the bottom of the hill. If you have that too short, you're going to get too much dirt. It's going to clog up in the middle. So what you want is just to pull out the hill right below the bottom of the potatoes. Once it pulls up the hill, it separates the roots, it pulls those along with it, and the sides and the fingers, they get caught up a lot of times and get charged off on the side of the road. The dirt goes through the fingers in the back down to the hill. And the potatoes, well, they get kicked out the back and they're laying right on top of the hill. Okay, so the potato digger pulls up the entire hill. Then it shakes the dirt down and kicks the potatoes out the back. So what you're left with is a row of potatoes on top of the dirt. Now when you go through to pick up the potatoes, you don't have to dig them out, uncover them or anything. They're laying on top of the dirt. You see how far it throws them out the back with that last kick right at the end. And if you're not getting enough dirt with your potatoes, if your entire hill's not coming out of your chopping potatoes in half, just shorten your top link. And what that does is it pitches the whole attachment down. You can adjust the height of the basket so it brings them up a little higher. If you're barely grazing the top of the dirt, you see here we've got it several inches over the dirt. The cam action off the PTO shaft moves the whole thing. You don't have to have a big tractor to drive this. It takes very little horsepower relatively to what the amount of work it does. The amount of time it saves and the extra potatoes it'll pull out of the ground without scratching, without cutting. That's all you're left with. Potatoes to pick up. All right, so we had to stop and make an adjustment. The potato digger was digging a little too deep in the ground. It was pulling up way too much dirt for as the potatoes are on the ground. Now it's doing a lot better. It's not pulling out as much dirt. Is you laying the potatoes right out on top of the road, just like it's supposed to. You see that cam action right off the PTO. Creates a lot of vibration, shakes the dirt right off of it. And this is all the work that's left after digging the potatoes. They're laying right on top. You don't have to dig down to get any more out of the ground. And you see they don't have any cuts on them. Potato plow would chop some in half, scar them up. Just pick them up right off the top of the dirt. Okay, so you can see the shovel point at the front of it stays mostly stationary, just has a little back and forth motion to it. And then as the potatoes and the dirt get ramped up the ramp, they slide onto the basket that has the fingers on it, where it shakes the dirt off, leaving nothing but the potatoes, and then they come out the back. It leaves a nice, beautiful row of potatoes, just like this here. All right, so we're gonna take a minute real quick to show some of the adjustments on the potato digger here. As you can see right here, the point's coming down pretty low, and it almost is vertical at this point, but when you drop it down, it's gonna go just scoop the bed up completely. And that's adjusted right here by the top link. And if you watch what happens as I adjust the top link, I'm lengthening it right now, and you see the pitch change of it. And what that's going to do is that's going to make it dig a little more shallow. It's not going to go as deep at this point. So if you find that you're cutting some potatoes or scratching them or not getting all of them, just shorten your top link, just like this. Shorten your top link, and you'll find that it digs just a little deeper. It just changes the pitch. Now the only other adjustments you got to worry about are the wheels in the back right here. You turn these bolts here, slide them out. Make sure you tighten these up, because with the vibration that comes off this machine at 540 RPMs, you'll find yourself picking up your wheels out of the garden like we did. Now this adjustment here, all it's going to do is change the height of the basket. If you find that your basket is just dragging through the dirt and it's putting more dirt here, just barely shaking them out, you know, just raise this up a little bit. You see the angle change here. You can crank it all the way up to about right there. That's as high as it'll go. And as this thing bounces up and down, it'll throw the potatoes up here as more build up in the basket, and you'll see it kick them out the back. Now, if you find it's, way above your bed, you don't want to, throw the potatoes any higher than you have to. So just crank it down. It's got a long range of adjustments here. Go all the way down right there, and it's just going to lay them out right here if your bed's not too high. Now, if you got a high bed, that's just going to put more dirt in the basket, and it's really not what you want to do. The bearings on here are sealed. You've got a bearing in here and a bearing here. They're sealed. Now up here, if you don't grease this up, you're going to hear it whistle a little bit or squeak. And I think it's just better to put grease anywhere we've got metal on metal contact, and I think that's going to be a good place to put some grease. These are already greased from the factory. You might want to throw a little bit on there every once in a while because it will get a little dirty. Will wear out some. But other than that, there's really no maintenance to these machines.